was good. We brought the officials in, so we worked just a lot of scenarios today. So we did our first 2 minutes of the year to get through that scenario. Last play of the half situations. Really some more clock situations, and with officials there to make sure everybody's on sides. Make sure you work. If you do get a penalty under a minute, the 10-second runoff rule, which was new to college football a year ago. If you have a timeout, you can elect to take the timeout and then not use the 10-second runoff. So those are just scenarios that it's good to practice, especially when you get officials in here. And then we did some special teams work. So just a lot of situational work done today with officials, and good to get outside and good to be able to get this working. So we got a lot of good film we can teach off of, and we'll get a chance to meet with our guys. We've got an off day tomorrow, so get a chance to watch a film with them and make corrections on the situations we were in today.
Any particular rules plug you up, or everything goes?
No, it's just unless you run into it, unless you get a penalty with less than a minute to go in the game, you don't get in that situation with a 10-second runoff. We actually got one in the USC game a year ago, but thank goodness we saved the timeout, so we didn't have to have the 10-second runoff. But I've seen teams lose a game. If you get a penalty and there's only 9 seconds on the clock and you don't have a timeout, game's over. If you have a penalty on offense, and it could be something just as a quick twitch out of an offensive tackle or whatnot. But if that's the situation, you got to kind of manage your timeouts, and it's you can talk about them all you want, but until you get put in those situations in a game with referees, with the clock running, you got to get a chance to practice them. So we actually had one of them occur today, so it was a pretty good situation to be in.
What kind of role is Justin Hoffman playing in bringing along the younger wide receivers?
Hoff's been a great leader, and he did a great job last year with that. We've been young at the wideout spot since we lost Jeff Mail and Drew Davis, and really LT2 and A and Hoff were our older guys last year, and that's continued now with him and Josh Hoffman. Real good mentor to the younger kids, exactly how to behave on and off the field, and he's doing a good job. That's what a lot of our older kids are doing this spring. The Michael Clays, the Justin Hoffman, the Carson Yorks, Boyette in the secondary. We got some positions where we got some older guys, and they're making sure the younger guys understand how we're supposed to practice and how we're supposed to play.
How are you getting things sorted out with special teams? You guys play, everybody's available for special teams. You run you guys in.
Good question, and that's what this is. Especially today with officials here, because it's easy to be a great guy on punt return, but if you're holding your guy from getting down the field, that's the problem. So, with the officials here, our guys can now coach a little bit more of the techniques, and then the opportunity for the officials to be watching the calls and the official calls. It was a good thing for us today. But in the spring, again, like everything we do, we're not setting a depth chart. We're just trying to get how many different reps can we get where we can put those guys in situations. So we got some good real punt work today. We got some good punt cover work done today. And that was the emphasis of today's practice. We didn't do any kickoff or kickoff return things, but we did a lot of punt return work today, and trying to get as many reps as we can. So Coach Oz is just like the rest of us. He's trying to get as many snaps as he can on tape, and then when he has a special teams meeting, he can bring the tape out and show those guys what's going on.
How's Jackson Rice doing?
Jackson Rice did a nice job. A proven kid coming back, not a former, but he's a Ray Guy finalist last year. But the one thing I love about Jackson, he's another one of our great leaders. Even though I think people sometimes forget about him as a punter, he's been fantastic. In the weight room, in our off-season conditioning program, and then at practice in terms of setting a tone for us. So.
How important for the younger guys to actually get in there and deal with the whistles?
It's huge, and I think it's a different deal. I think sometimes when you're out there and we don't have the officials in practice, if you're maybe a DB, you get into a comfort zone of putting your hands on guys, and then all of a sudden you get out there and you get a couple interferences called, and it's not a coach saying it to you, it's an official saying it to you. And so I think it was good. We didn't have many penalties today. We had a few offsides, we had one offensive holding. I don't recall any defensive pass interferences, but I think for them to get it from the official standpoint. And the great thing about our officials when they come in, and a lot of them work the games during the season, and they explain them. I called it because of this. When I see your hand in this situation, this is what we're going to call, and that's what we're looking for. So, the officials are getting great work because they get to practice, and then our players are getting an understanding of what the officials are looking for, and what you may think that you could be able to get away with as a player, but the officials' interpretation is this, and whatever the officials' interpretation is the bottom line, because that's what they're looking for and that's what they're going to call. So it's good to have them out there, and we try to get them. We get them twice, and then plus the spring game, so we'll have them in again next Tuesday. Our 6th practice and our 11th practice, and anytime we get a chance to practice with them, it just is a better situation overall.
Is it more of younger guys making mistakes or veteran guys?
No, it's everybody. I think it's everybody. It's a coach's meeting. We had this scenario where coaches had to make a decision on a 10-second runoff today with a timeout. They believed there was enough time on the clock, but they didn't use the timeout, and they let the 10-second runoff go because I think the penalty occurred at 53 seconds. So we'd rather take it down to 43 seconds, depending on we were in decent field position at the time. So, you know, the coaches have to make some decisions in terms of penalties. Do we enforce them? Do we take them? And unless you have real officials out there doing that, you don't get put in those situations.
Coach, who's taking a bulk of the returns on kick and punt returns?
Everybody's back there. Josh Huff has been back there. Terrence Mitchell's been back there. Dior's been back there. Kenyon's been back there. Obviously, DeAnthony's been back there. Chad Delaney's another kid that's returned kicks for us. So it's just we're rotating one, every single one. So there's a lot of kids getting reps back there deep and trying to get experience at returning it. Keenan Lowe did a nice job. Keenan Lowe had a good return today. You know, he's another kid. We'll take a look at it. And again, it's the springtime. We'll have a bigger pool in the spring than we do in the fall, and then we kind of narrow it down as we start to go into the season.
Given the depth then of say, your running backs, would you rather see one of the receivers or corners step into that role?
No, we want to see the best player, you know, and we believe there's a huge advantage for you in the special teams game. And we've always believed that. Jonathan Stewart returned kicks here. Michael James was an outstanding kid last year. It's such a difference maker in the game, and you know, I think for some teams, if they look and they see a Kenyon Warner or Anthony Thomas deep, they may not kick the ball deep. You know, so that gives us a huge field position. So, but the best guys are going to be in there. That give us the best opportunity. Number one, the biggest thing with being a returner is you got to catch a ball, you know, and that's not an easy skill as people think, you know, especially a punt's a little bit different than a kickoff, but you know, certain guys have the knack for it, and you got to be dependable back there. You know, if you're a kid that's going to, you know, be a dynamic kid that can score a couple touchdowns, but you put the ball on the ground, then we're probably going to go in a different direction. It's a reliability that wherever the ball's kicked and we catch it, that's a positive, and we gain any yards after that, that's icing on the cake. But if we have the opportunity to turn it over in those situations, we want to stay away from that game.
You're about halfway through now. Where would you like to see more work done?
Good question. I think it's just the improvement of individual players. I think they've got both sides of the ball, been really pleased with their grasp of what we're doing scheme-wise. There's not a lot of mental mistakes going on out there. They all know what to do. Now it's more of the fundamental how to do it, and you know, just refining your technique within your position. But it's not like guys are caught out of position and all of a sudden, you know, it's supposed to be 3 deep and the corner's nowhere to be found and guys are running down the field, or you know, we've got a certain route called and the receiver's running the wrong route. I think our kids have done a really good job of picking up the scheme. Now it's the nuances, really not the what to do, but the how to do.